Chaps, welcome back. We're here again at our old venue, OG venue, and I won't lie, I quite like it. I know the last time I said we were evicted. Well, guess what? Devil's a liar. Here we are, back again. Sound quality should be better than it was in the previous episode. And we're not going to stay here forever. We prefer moving around. Why? It's interesting, it's fun, a change of scenery is always good. Now I know you see the elephant in the room, the American flag. Yes, Mo and I are not from the United States of America, nor do we wish we were. We're South African, proud South Africans, by the way. But recently, a certain, how do I say this, political commentator was shot dead, murdered in the United States of America, a man who goes by the name of Charlie Kirk. Now, I've said this in the past, Mo, if I'm not mistaken, said it as well in the pod. We like to count ourselves as apolitical. We don't lean either left or right. But there's a difference between being apolitical and being a moral human being, which I'd count myself and Mo being. We don't agree with the murder, with the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Not to say that we agree with everything that he said in the past, but for an innocent man to die in the way that he died, the murder, assassination, in front of his own family, in front of everybody who was in attendance, in front of the entire globe, is quite disappointing, to say the least. We don't believe in the jokes being made on social media, smoking on that Kirk pack. You know, the smoke is incredible. I mean, you name it. You've seen it. You've been on X. The jokes are endless. Mo and I, we don't agree. Perhaps you do. But as I said, we like to count ourselves as moral human beings. Now, regarding American politics, it's not just politics, but cultural as well. You see, back in the day, a president, especially in the United States, was just that, a president. But today's day and age, they're cultural icons, they're memes, they're, quite frankly, celebrities, to say the least. Mo, would you not agree?
I mean, I do, bro. Like you said, Ronald Reagan was just Ronald Reagan, the president of the United States. John F. Kennedy was just John F. Kennedy, the president of the United States. Obviously, his assassination was rather widespread. But I mean, look at what we know about our politicians now, or I mean, American politicians now. I mean, we know Donald Trump's favorite golf course is Pebble Beach. We know his favorite McDonald's order is literally a Big Mac and fries. We know every single thing that we wouldn't have known about previous presidents because of social media. So I think that's why, like you said, they're not just politicians anymore. They're cultural figureheads.
I mean, I couldn't agree more, honestly speaking, because we're here in South Africa speaking about something that happened in the United States, and it doesn't affect us directly, but culturally, it affects us. And it's not the only thing. It's not the first thing that has happened where something happens in the United States of America and it influences us. It has us feeling away. 2020, similar thing happened regarding Black Lives Matter. I mean, there was a point, I'm sure you lot remember, people were posting black squares to prove that they weren't racist. A lot of people were pressured into it. And I find that to be quite interesting. Us as South Africans, and you could even argue other nations that aren't from the United States, something happens in the US, we speak about it here. Not to say that we shouldn't, but we do. But when things happen in our country, how often do they speak about it at their country? And not to say that they should, perhaps they should, but I'm just saying things as they are. When things get shaken up in Washington, it doesn't get shaken up just in Washington. It happens in South Africa as well, capitals all around the globe, especially in the Western Hemisphere. I feel like I'm speaking sense, Mo.
I mean, bro, you're spot on. The thing is, I think what a lot of people need to understand is that not only is the American PR machine the strongest out there, but we consume their media subconsciously, but also consciously. I mean, you can think of the amount of Netflix shows that you've watched that have been American and the depiction of America, TikToks, X, Instagram posts, etc., etc. So I think it actually makes sense as to why, even when it comes to political issues, I mean, Ugandans probably relate. I mean, Cameroonians, Ghanaians, they also feel like they have the right to have an opinion on a country, which I think obviously they're physically not there, but in the metaphysical sphere, which is social media, they consume so much of their content, you know, and especially when that content is political, they feel the right to have an opinion on what's happening there.
110%. And this isn't Mo and I being upset that, factually speaking, especially in the West, America does lead culturally. I mean, even the terms cancel culture, that term was created by Americans, being woke, and the list goes on. We're not upset. We're just saying things as they are. But it seems as though when it's the other way around, they don't care as much about us as we seem to care about them.
I mean, you can look at the whole Elon Musk and the farm murders, you know. I mean, I, for one, you can disagree if you can give me another example, but I can't think of such a contentious South African issue that has reached the world stage like that ever before. And I think, yes, because Elon is South African, even though he doesn't really claim us like that, that was purely driven by his own personal agenda. I'm not going to say what that agenda is. Like we said, we're apolitical. But I think besides that, there's not been a single South African issue that European presidents have cared about, American presidents have cared about, dating back all the way to apartheid. I mean, apartheid was the only one.
I mean, that is true. That is true. It seems, as I said, this isn't us saying that things must change, but Mo, do you think in the future it could change? Because I'm a firm believer that, the pendulum always shifts. Today, so and so has power. The next day, it's another person. The person who starts the empire, oftentimes and not, is not the one who watches it fall. So, Mo, do you think America is able to hold that title of being, the cultural powerhouse, especially regarding the West?
Unfortunately, I think they'll continue to dominate. I mean, even if you just look at the amount of money that they pour into certain things, the music industry there is incomparable to anywhere else in the world. The movie business, I mean, everyone wants to be in Hollywood, you know. Yes, places like Bollywood have tried to compete, but I mean, it's just nowhere near. So, with that being said, I think simply the sheer amount of money that they put into all of this, it's definitely an empire that's going to take a lot of breaking down, bro. And I just don't see it happening anytime soon.
So you believe it can happen, just not anytime soon?
I mean, it potentially can. I don't know if you know that. I don't know if you saw that that Chinese political parade where Xi Jinping and who's the leader of North Korea again?
Kim Jong
Kim Jong Un and
Yeah.
Vladimir Putin were pictured walking together,
Yeah.
and you saw Trump's response. You know, he thought that that was some sort of intimidation tactic against
Yeah.
America. Why not the rest of the world? Do you understand? I
Yeah.
think it's because everyone looks at it as it's
America's
us against America. You know,
Yeah.
America's
They're the bullies.
Exactly. I mean, simple things like the military. That's why the dollar is so strong. It's backed by the military. No other
100%.
military is as strong. So, yeah, bro. Like I said, it's gonna take.
It's gonna take a
It's
lot.
gonna take a long time. I myself can't see that happening in our lifetime. I'll be real.
Yeah, because I mean, but that's political. But what about culturally? Because yes, we're speaking about Kim Jong Un. We're speaking about Vladimir Putin. We can go on and on. But the thing is this with the United States of America, right? They speak English. a lot of people in the West, especially the places that have money, they speak English. The problem with China, the problem with, you know, Korea, North Korea, South Korea, you name it, Japan, they all have their own native tongues, some even their own alphabet. So let's say I'm in South Africa, as I am, but I'm trying to engage in Russian pop culture. How am I supposed to do so when I don't speak Russian? How am I supposed to do so when I don't read Russian? So how can they take over culturally, not just politically?
I think you also just need to look back at the history of America. America is very much a new country, you know. So with that being said, I think a lot of their culture is curated. So it can't stem back to thousands of years, centuries ago. So I think the culture that they've created in this newly developed country per se, I mean, it's obviously not new, but you know what I mean?
No, I
I
see what
mean,
you're saying.
a couple of 100 years deep, that culture has been tailored to sort of seem more appealing to the rest of the world. And I think that's why American culture for us has been at the foundation of everything social and cultural that we consume currently.
That's actually quite interesting because America is actually quite a new country if you were to think about it, because their independence is the 4th of July, but I forgot what year. Could you research that for me? I forgot what year. Because before the Americans, there was the British. The British ran the United States until 4th of July
1776.
1776, American Independence Day. So they are fairly new, and perhaps that is why we resonate that and them speaking English. But I don't know how long it will have that power for. But you know what's crazy about the United States that I also find is how the blacks in the United States call themselves African Americans, which I don't necessarily find offensive, but rather more interesting, because the blacks from the United States of America aren't from the United States of America, but nor the whites. But I don't hear white Americans referring to themselves as European Americans. I don't know. When I hear it, low key, it sounds a bit condescending. You know, it's almost as though, and I'm speaking to the Americans out there, the black ones in particular. When you hear the term African American, doesn't it sound like, yeah, you're American, but not a full, legitimate one? But the white guy who's also not from the United States, he's really from Europe, let's be honest. He's just American. He's not European American, he's just American. He's the full thing. I don't know, I just find it to be quite interesting. I would, I mean, if it were me, if I'm in the United States and I'm born and raised there being a black individual, I'd prefer to be called a black American. I am 100% American that just happens to be black. I don't know. I just find it to be quite interesting because Africa's a continent with what, 52 countries? Am I correct, Mo? Or is it 54? I'm not too sure. But it's over 50 countries in Africa, which is a continent. Usually, you'll get people who are from the United Kingdom, England in particular, who are born and raised in England but have family from Nigeria. They'll say they're Nigerian English. Country, country, not continent, country. And then oftentimes, if somebody's in Australia, they could be black, they could be any race. They just say they're Australian. But in the United States of America, no, I'm African American. But which part of Africa are you from? And this isn't to be disrespectful or whatnot, but it's a genuine question. Yes, you probably don't know because, you know, heritage and, you know, bloodline got mixed up during the slave trade, which is 100% understandable. But at the end of the day, you are American. Why not just own it? That's my honest question. But Mo, you seem as though you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think the story of Black Americans is one that's extremely unique. Like you just said, slavery completely like wiped out their heritage. I mean, oftentimes they can't pinpoint exactly which country they're from. They can perhaps point at East Africa, perhaps, or obviously we know transatlantic slave trade, predominantly West Africa. With that being said, like you said, they are at the end of the day Americans. They aren't like European Africans who are perhaps third, second generation immigrants, who still have ties to their homeland. So I think that's why at times we as Africans need to understand that they are such an isolated and new group of people that their struggles at times are not ours.
110%. Because we're here in South Africa speaking about an incident that happened in the United States of America, but we're South African. Why would we care? Why would we be bothered? We're in a completely different country. We've got how many official languages? But an incident happened in the US and we're speaking about it on our pod. I mean, that's just the way things are. America at the moment leads culturally, which isn't a bad thing whatsoever, but it is the case, you know? But how long will they hold that title? I'm not too sure, personally.
I think one of the issues I have is the people who are more vocal about Western political issues and aren't as outspoken about the same issues that are faced at home. I'll bring you one very niche example. Do you think the average South African knows how many KZN councillors were killed? I mean, do you know how many KZN councillors have been killed since 2021? Because I feel like that's a much bigger topic to speak about.
And that's an absolutely incredible point to make. And to answer your question, I actually don't. And that's me being genuine.
Before you continue, can I just read out the stat?
Read out the stat.
So since November 2021, out of 40 councillors in KZN, guess how many were assassinated?
Out of 40. I want to say like 50%, which is quite the large number.
Nearly 50%.
Okay.
18 councillors were assassinated.
Damn, bro. That's actually quite crazy. But as we stated before, with America, with the United States of America, it's not just politics. It's almost like watching a film. It's more, I don't want to say more cultural, but the figures there, they're more than just politicians.
To call a spade, American politics, at the end of the day, no matter how divisive or deep they are, they're just entertaining at the end of the day. I mean, that's just point blank. They're just very much entertainment. It's like watching TV, is it not?
It is, and I won't lie, it most certainly is. But what do you think makes it entertaining, though? Because tragedy happens in all sorts of different countries. You know what I mean? Politics is a bloody game. I mean, there is no game that has more backstabbing, that has more... I mean, it's a dirty game. And I genuinely don't believe there's a game that's dirtier. People die every day with politics. People are... I mean, before we even continue, there's certain gents on the planet who you ask about politics and they're like, no, I don't care about politics. I understand not wanting to speak about politics, especially out in the open. That's understandable. People have their views. And as we spoke earlier in this conversation, in this episode of the pod, there's radicals who exist on both sides, So I understand not wanting to speak about politics out in the open, in public. But to be a gent in particular and not care about politics, I find it to be quite concerning. I mean, it says a lot about the gent in particular, because politics affects your everyday life, whether it be directly or indirectly. It most certainly makes a large difference.
So do you not think that's why American politics are so entertaining? Is because, like when you're watching a series, you're waiting for sort of the turning point, the high stakes moment. We, even if we don't deep it at the time, but we know that subconsciously what happens in the US is ultimately going to affect us. An American is, a British person is thinking this, an Australian is thinking this, a Chinese person is thinking this, a Russian, that's why everyone is glued to their TV for American presidential debates, because they know the outcome of that election is going to, that's what I'm saying. I mean, who's elected in South Africa, on the other hand? I mean, for an Australian, it means nothing, does it?
Yeah.
For a person in, I don't know, Singapore, it absolutely means nothing, bro.
Yeah.
And I think vice versa, we don't care. I mean, I don't even know who the prime minister or president of Singapore, I don't even know the type of government they have. But I think with America, it's just such a high stakes game that I think subconsciously we latch onto it because we understand that it's going to affect our lives personally,
Yeah.
which some could argue is pretty selfish.
I mean, you could, but human beings, generally speaking, intrinsically are selfish. I'm a firm believer that there's only two things that people care about, and that's themselves and controversy. That's just the way it is. You know, the United States of America is controversial. There are those types of people, and I don't have an issue with it. If anything, I find it to be quite amusing, you know, but they don't just lead culturally, but also, I don't want to say financially, but the general currency we use is the dollar, is the not more, you know?
Yeah, that is the strongest currency in the world. Like I said earlier, it's backed by the military.
Exactly.
And America have the strongest military, so yeah.
And having the strongest military to a certain degree does most certainly make you controversial. And you know why America is so interesting as well? They play this game of, yo, we're democratic, but really they're bullies, you know what I mean? Let's speak about the Great Depression. And this is just an interesting fact. We're not even trying to get too political, but they're going through the Great Depression. How did they get out? World War II. By doing what? Making weapons. America's literally, even through slavery, if you were to count that as well, built on blood. Their foundation is a pile of dead bodies, you know? And to be the best, and I'm not vouching for them, I'm not defending them, but, to be number one in anything, one does have to take extreme measures. Do I agree with the violence? Do I agree with immoral acts? Do I agree with injustice? Absolutely not. But I just find it crazy. I find it hilarious, like genuinely amusing as to how they act. Like, no, we're just trying to help people. We're democratic, fight for freedom, but they're bullies. Yo.
I mean, there's a more recent example. I don't know if you remember when BRICS, BRICS, right?
Yeah, BRICS, yeah.
BRICS wanted to introduce a new currency, and did you see Trump's tweet straight after that? I mean, I can read it for you here.
Yeah, read them out loud.
We are going to require a commitment that they will neither create a new BRICS currency nor back any other currency to replace the mighty US dollar, or they will face 100% tariffs. Say hello to tariffs and goodbye to America. I mean, that just says it all, doesn't it?
It does. But as we stated earlier, we keep coming back to it. When we're speaking about American politics, it's not just politics, but entertainment. You read that tweet out. Come on, that's something straight out of a TV series, something straight from a film. Whether you agree with the guy or not, you can't say that tweet is disinteresting or uninteresting. It's this guy's actually hilarious. You know what I mean? Culturally they're leading. Financially, it seems as though they're leading as well. The corporations that they have, they've got Apple, they've got Microsoft. The list goes on. They've got Amazon. So
the S&P 500 as well.
S&P 500.
It's just a losing game at the end of the day.
It's a losing game, But what I've come to realize as well, Mo, is that the world is driving further and further away from, you could even argue, nationalism. I think people are starting to become more globalized. Because if you were to think about it, right, the borders that we've put all around the planet are man-made. I'm here in South Africa. Technically speaking, I'm still I'm standing on the same land as a Nigerian. You know what I mean?
But even look at the podcast metrics. After South Africa, what, second most?
United States of America.
And then third is the UK, and it goes on and goes on. You said, those borders now are very much artificial.
Yeah. And by the way, those stats are from our pod, so just for clarity. In today's day and age, 2025, people are everywhere. All sorts of different people are everywhere. It's no longer a thing of, okay, I'm born and raised in South Africa and I'm staying until I die. People move all the time. People, especially when they have the means, will just leave a country when it's no longer beneficial to be in said country, which drives us into, our next segment, which I just thought of, like on the top of my head. It wasn't part of the script. But most people, right, regarding where they stay geographically, I'd argue most people stay there not because they want to, but because they don't have the means to move. And let me ask you something, Ryan. If, let's say, one lives in a country and it's not too pleasant to live there, politically, socioeconomically, are they a bad person for just leaving? What do you think? Assuming they've got the means and they do so legally and justly.
I think part of me wants to say yes, stay and fight for your country.
Yeah.
Because I think those countries are seeing a massive brain drain, in the sense that the finest doctors, engineers, architects are all leaving to go to pastures that to some extent are greener, but then again, once they reach there, they're just another statistic. So from a selfish point of view, I mean, do whatever's best for your family at the end of the day. But I would encourage people to stay.
Yeah. But I find it to be quite interesting. So us two, we're in South Africa and we are South Africans. But if we were to move to the US, move to the United Kingdom, move to Poland, you name it, and start a family there, our children would be Polish. They would be North American. They'd be American. They'd be, English. So isn't it quite crazy how it's just that easy to switch nationalities? Do you see what I mean? So what I'm basically trying to say is it about where you're born, where you live, where you're born and raised, Like where you're raised. Is it about the birthplace, or is it about where you're raised that makes you a part of that country?
I think the line is getting blurred more and more. But back to the whole political segment, do you not think that that sense of escapism is also why people want to delve into politics far, far away instead of those that directly affect them here? Even though the sensible thing is, if your house is burning down, you're not gonna go to the neighbor's house whose house is burning down and put out like their fire first.
First, fix local problems before you go international.
But that's what I'm saying. Don't you think that there's a form of escapism? Like, okay, cool. Let me just ignore what's happening here and look there instead, because it's far more entertaining and it won't have a direct impact on my life.
Yeah, exactly. I do believe that there is that sense, but it goes back to what we're saying, entertainment. I'd even argue that's the third thing I believe people care about: themselves, controversy, entertainment. That's all they care about. You know what I mean? Somebody's house is burning down in real time, but they're paying attention to somebody else's house, regarding the example that you just made right now. I mean, there's so many problems that happen in so many different countries, in South Africa as well, but people are fixed on, the United States. And this isn't me complaining. Please, I have to disclose. This isn't me telling people what to do, because people will do whatever they want to do at the end of the day. I'm just saying things as they are. I would even go as far as agreeing that I do believe that American politics is more interesting than South African. And I say this being a South African. Is that an issue? Maybe, maybe not, but it is the case.
The thing is, I think, like you said, it is all about entertainment, but I think back on the whole escapism thing, I just find it very funny how, for example, everyone is proud to be South African when the Springboks are playing,
They are.
But when it's time to be South African about the local issues, the financial contributions that one can make to their country, then they're South African but Portuguese at the same time.
Yeah.
I mean, have you seen that meme about certain South African girls when they turn 13 and they get their first Instagram and it's like South Africa and 40 other countries in their bio?
Yeah.
Just anything not to be...
It makes them seem more exotic, you could
Exactly, yeah. So do you think people also do that subconsciously about issues like politics, They pick and choose the elements of South Africa that they prefer.
Yeah,
That's
so they
why
take
politics
the good
get
and they
overlooked.
leave the bad.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Everyone on Bok Day has a Bok shirt, has their green and gold.
Yeah.
But then when it's time to be South African about politics, crickets.
It's a different story. And So like South African politics is also interesting. I'm not gonna make it seem as though it's boring, but we're gonna try our best in this pod to not be too political. Or even I can't even say not even political at all, because is that really possible for anyone? Especially two young lads like Mo and I. I mean, there's gonna be political comments, gonna be political jokes that are made. But in this pod we just speak about what's interesting. And what's interesting is what Mo just stated right now. When the Boks are playing, we're all gonna wear that green jersey. We're all gonna rep them. We're all gonna make sure, when they win, we're gonna make everybody know, let everybody know that we're South African. But when our house is burning down, when there's problems here, it's crickets. It's quite interesting. It really is. But at the end of the day, human beings are flawed. That's just the way we are. Do good things, do bad things. But Oaks, don't want to go on for too long. Don't want to go too political, don't want to be too political and dive into this because we'll be here forever. I find this extremely entertaining, I can't lie, speaking about politics. But we're going to continue with our now tradition, you could say. Mo's going to ask me. I don't even know what he's going to ask me, but he's going to ask me some question that's going to have me thinking. Probably have me looking like a bad person by the end of it, but Mo, talk to me.
Okay, give me a few seconds to cook.
Oh, I'm going to wait for him and I'm going to waffle. Oh, and gents, listen, I won't lie. We're dropping consistently every single week. So sometimes gents run out of ideas. Not to say that we're there yet, but just in case we do one day, comment down below. Tell us, give us some ideas, some topics to speak about. Because we do this for the love of podcasting. There's Oaks talking about, put the mic down. Everybody has a podcast. Where's your mic? Where's your podcast? Can you even afford it? Odds are you can't. We're going to keep cooking. You know what I mean? Some real heat in the kitchen. And we're not going to stop. So all you haters out there, if you're listening to us, thank you. If you're not, how on earth are you listening and commenting on the social media platforms? Make it make sense. Mo, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Okay, first one. Just let me know if you need a harder one, but I think it's pretty decent. Okay, where is it? Would you rather live in a country? Obviously, this is going to be political because
Yeah, no, I
whatever.
understand.
Okay, so would you rather live in a country that is globally respected but locally unstable, or locally unstable but completely ignored on the world stage?
Oh, man, that's tough. Say it again. So it's either, we're doing good, right? But the outsiders don't respect us.
Exactly.
Or we're
Or
doing
everyone,
horribly.
like locally, but everyone loves our country.
The thing is, right? Perception is one's reality. I'd rather have everybody look at us and think, damn, those guys are not the people to mess with. You know what I mean? I believe that there'll be fewer problems if I'm being honest. I know the correct thing is probably to be like, no, we're doing good over here, but other people don't respect us. But if other countries don't respect you, how long are you going to be living soft for? That's my question. So I'd rather be the country that, there's a few problems happening locally, but when other people look in from the outside, they're seeing stability, they're seeing strength, they're seeing resilience, work ethic, and all the right things. So I think I answered that quite well, if I'm being honest.
Okay, I got a fun one here.
Okay.
Would you rather have leaders chosen by the lottery, so literally random?
Yeah.
So just literally random citizens, anyone can be president. I mean,
Lottery, so it's okay.
it's completely random.
Yeah.
Or leaders chosen only by the wealthy elites. So the South African example, the Ruperts, the
This is gonna get me in trouble,
Steenhuisens.
but I already have the answer. I'd rather have the elites pick. I'm sorry. You mean to tell me? You mean to tell me you're gonna leave it up to chance as to who runs a country? Bro, imagine you have some scruff from God knows where, from the backyards of buttfuck nowhere, who's president. Homie has the keys to To do how much? No ways. I'd rather have the elites pick. And yeah, it's been an excellent episode, chaps. Hope to see you next week. Not even hope to. We know we'll see you next week. Oaks, share this with everybody you know. Share this with your bro. Share this with your cousin, your niece, your nephew, you name it. It's been an excellent one. Stay safe and take care.